Do you ever feel like you have to be everywhere at all time just to keep up? In this episode, I'm sharing why hustle culture isn't just exhausting, it's a career killer. But I'm also going to be delving into how to build real growth without burning out using one principle that changed everything for me. Welcome to the Thrive Careers podcast, the show that helps ambitious women in Canada, the United States, and the UK build fulfilling careers without burning out. If you're ready to go from stuck and self doubt to confident and in control, then you're in the right place. Stay tuned. Hey, you. Yes, I mean you. If you're listening to this episode right now while you're multitasking, you're on the go, or you're halfway scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform, and you're doing all of those things at the same time. First, let me say to you, I see you and you're not alone. You know why? Because I have been there. I've been that woman trying to be everywhere, doing everything all at once. I was podcasting, YouTube, videos, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and even the almighty LinkedIn. I was constantly on, more like on 24/7. For me, rest felt like an expensive luxury. And honestly, it actually made me feel guilty when I have to rest. I would hear that silence whisper in my head saying, should you really be sleeping when there's still work to do? And you know what that makes me do? I'll just jump out of bed or whatever it is that I am doing, grab my laptop, and then I'm doing the next thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. I clearly had no boundaries, just this never ending grind to grow, visible, be consistent, be everywhere. But wait a minute, at this point, let's get into why we are having this conversation today. Here's the truth I want you to know. You see, that thing we call hustle culture, it isn't a strategy. It's actually a trap. And I say this confidently because I have walked that path before. You see, hustle culture, it is very sneaky. It glamorizes burnout. It convinces you that if you are not overwhelmed, then you're not doing enough. And then you just keep going and going and going until you get to the point of no return. But here's what I learned the hard way, and I'm here to teach you today. Hustle gives you the illusion of progress, but not actual results. It drains your energy, muddies your focus, and eventually disconnects you from your purpose. But you know what? I quickly found out that this was a never ending marathon, and it would just keep going if I do not put a stop to it. And that was my turning point. I remember hitting a point where the effort that I was putting in wasn't matching the outcome. I was creating content and running a business at the same time, managing multiple platforms. But I wasn't seeing the kind of traction that I expected. Then I remembered something from my experience as an HR professional. Years ago, I worked at an organization where a small group of employees, maybe just 20%, were getting paid significantly more than everyone else. And I remember questioning why that exists. And I think it particularly worried me because I had access to the numbers. So at first, I thought this feels unfair. This is partial in every sense of the word. But then I realized what was happening eventually. The organization had applied what is called the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. They had analyzed their performance data and found out that 20% of their employees were actually the performers. They were the ones producing 80% of the company's revenue and results. So, what did they do? They rewarded those top performers, not just with words, but with actual compensation and support. And you know that when employees are well compensated, you can always be guaranteed for more results. And don't forget that we're already talking about the top performers. That moment and that realization changed everything for me. So I stopped asking, how can I do more? And I started asking, what is actually moving the needle? What 20% of what I actually do gives me up to 80% of results? I needed to do that audit. But before I get into that, let's talk briefly about the Pareto principle, which is also called the 80-20 rule. This simply means that 80% of your results comes from 20% of your efforts. And this applies to almost everything. Think about it this way. What 20% of your task generates 80% of your progress? Or what 20% of your clients actually drive 80% of your revenue? Or what 20% of your habits shape 80% of your performance? This is so critical, but yet most of us are spending 80% of our time stuck in the noise, in low value activities that don't actually translate. And we keep asking, why am I not getting results? Because we are not focusing on what is important. We are focusing on low value activities. So for me, I realized that I was chasing way too many things and not really zoning down on one. So I applied the rule. I streamlined my processes. I refocused. And if you think of the famous quote, where focus goes, energy flows. That's exactly what happened to me. I aligned, and guess what? I started to see results. My podcast started to grow organically, and I started also to see the numbers in my YouTube and all the other things that I do. And all of this started happening without me losing myself or burning out. So now let's shift the focus to you. How can you apply this if you're a professional, a manager, a career climber, or just someone who is passionate about growth and development? Here's the 80-20 career audits. 3 practical ways to help you find your high impact 20%. Number 1, track your wins. Pull up your last 60 to 90 days. What results are you most proud of? What projects or meetings led to visible outcomes, promotions, recognitions, successful launches, or problem solving for you? Look at feedback from your managers or clients. Where are you repeatedly adding value? That is your 20%. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to analyze your calendar. Open your weekly calendar and ask yourself, what task consistently feels heavy, but actually do not generate results? Compare that to what gets you noticed, what drives your decision, what builds your relationship, or what influences your results. And also, highlight your impact activities. And this could be mentoring, presenting, solving internal issues, or delivering critical work on time. Whatever that looks like for you, you need to be able to know it and zoom in on it. And of course, that takes me to the last but not the least point, which is zoom in on your zone of genius. So what you need to do at this point is to think back, pause for a minute and think, what do people come to you for that they don't go to others for? Where do you shine effortlessly, but you create big results? That's not just talent. That's your superpower. In fact, that's your leverage, and you need to zoom in into that. When you do this audit, your high impact 20% would begin to reveal itself. And from there, you can double down. You can spend more time where you're making more waves. You can spend more time where you're getting more results and say no to the things that are just noise. And now we've successfully gotten to the most interesting and my favorite part of the show, the Thrive hack of the week. And this week's hack is for you to do an 80-20 audit. It's a no-brainer, right? So look at your calendar, your to-do list, your inbox, whatever that looks like for you, and ask yourself that honest question. What 20% of what I do is driving most of my results? Where do I get the most energy, the most visibility and growth? Then pause or delegate one thing from your 80% that is draining you and watch what happens. Now, before I leave you today, I'd like to do a quick recap. Let's wrap this up quick. Hustle culture rewards burnout, but smart careers reward alignment. You need to know that. Also, your 20%, identify your 20%, your most meaningful task, where you get your clearest results. Those deserve your attention. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be intentional about what actually works and double down. And lastly, if this episode sparks something for you, be sure to subscribe now and share it with one woman who is tired of being tired. And if you're ready to show up in your career or business strategically visible and energized, join me for the LinkedIn Visibility Bootcamp Holiday Edition happening December 27th and 28th. 2 days of clarity, strategy, and growth. No fluff. Spots are filling out fast. Be sure to register. The link to do that is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. And that's it for today's episode of Thrive Careers Podcast. I am Olajumoke Fatoki, reminding you that no matter where you are in your career, you have the power to rewrite your story. If you've enjoyed today's insights, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's ready to thrive. If you have questions or topics you'd like for me to cover, let's connect. I would love to hear from you. Remember, clarity creates confidence, and confidence leads to success. And until I come your way again next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.